motion to open the public hearing, continued public hearing for zoning amendments MBTA overlay district, to accept the applicant's request to continue to 10-2, both the continued public hearing for 516, 584 Taunton Street and 256 Beach Street, and the public hearing for 30 Nickerson Lane special permit use auto wrapping commercial building, and to move to later in the meeting the continued public hearing for Park Place major modification definition plan and open space preservation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Mr. Boassi.
Aye.
Mr. English.
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Maloney.
Aye.
Mr. Orban.
Aye.
Mr. Woodhams.
Aye.
Mike McKnight, aye. 6 in favor, 1 absent, no one opposed. The motion carries. Guess MBTA communities, we could give an update on our joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen last night. The subcommittee consisting of Jim Lawrence, Chuck Woodhams, and I met with the Board of Selectmen. I think it went over very well. We used the deck, I believe, that Rachel had presented at the last meeting. We walked through all of that, had some good questions from the Board of Selectmen. Nothing we couldn't answer in terms of why we had excluded some of the sites. There was a question about the West Wrentham Abbey as to why we had excluded that. Somebody voiced an interest in wondering why we didn't select that or keep that in the mix. There was a question around Route 1 and why we didn't pick any sites on Route 1, and we explained our rationale there around buses and not really being residential and maybe not fitting the kind of the intent of livable communities.
And also the fact that it would be potentially losing commercial
Right.
properties.
Yeah, we didn't get any pushback on that. Nobody
Yeah.
spoke up and said, "Well, we should have picked commercial." You know, that eliminated a lot of sites.
Yeah.
Can you remember other ones, Chuck, that they brought up and asked questions about that we answered?
I mean, there was a little bit of a discussion around the Armitage, but it didn't really go too far. And we talked about how, you know, there had been discussions about the outlets, but we felt that that was probably not a good option from the simple standpoint is that it has the best chance probably out of everything to actually be developed. And because it's the underlying zoning would allow them to build much taller buildings than they would be allowed in any other zoning. Was one of the reasons we eliminated, and they seem to be fine with that explanation.
Yeah.
So
I think all in all, they were, you know, they were engaged, they were interested, they asked good questions, nothing that we didn't have answers for based on the filters and the guiding principles we had put forward and the reasons we selected the sites that we did. We did explain that there's more work to be done on just carving out how much land can be usable on East Street, which will determine the amount of land that we actually calculate on Elysium. There was a question about Elysium being a narrow winding road, and we said part of a development would have to take that into account with traffic studies and the other question came from a select person who asked about the permitting time or the timeline for these things. So in general, we mentioned that, you know, usually a bigger site takes a few years to get permitted, but you know, hopefully the bigger parcel here takes some time if in fact it's going to be developed off of Elysium Street with the pit still operational. Maybe that's a longer run that allows the town to absorb the town center, 8 units an acre. If that gets approved and developed, the East Street project, which is probably a little bit easier to permit and navigate than Elysium. So I think that generally answered the question, although there's no guarantees on timing. Certainly, I guess somebody could go forward with the or try to go forward with Elysium Street. But I think overall, I don't know, we spent probably an hour there talking, answering questions and explain the next steps, which are, we are working on the bylaws that go with these. And so there was some discussion at the end about making sure that, we socialize those and people have a chance to input, which you said they would, in terms of, what are the setbacks, what are the buffers, what are the requirements, especially for Elysium Street, where it's a little bit larger development around amenities or requirements for that parcel and that development. And I think that got some play too, in terms of making sure that we, put as much into that, the thought process around those zoning bylaws to make sure that, if we're going to have 400 units of housing, that, it gets developed correctly and not, and we don't short the town or the residents. So I think that covers it, Chuck. I don't know if you have anything else that you picked up on from the meeting.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. I felt that it was well received. I felt it went smoothly. Mike, you did a great job of presenting. I don't know if you heard me say that on the way out of the meeting last night, but kudos to you for handling it as well as you did and fielding all the questions. Feeling that I got was that they appreciate the amount of work that's gone into this between the subcommittee and the board as a whole. And I didn't really get a feeling that they were pushing back against any part of it, and they want to move forward with it. And so we have something to present to the town in December. I think one of the things that we all want to start thinking about as we get to the point where we're developing this bylaw is how we can get the word out to residents, because there's a lot of there's a little bit of misinformation out there. I'm on some of the local Facebook pages, and I try to dispel any missed facts or rumors as much as possible. But I think we need to make sure that we do a conscious effort to try to get the word out, in the limited time that we have. But
Yeah.
all in all, I felt that the meeting went well, and they're looking for us to move forward with it.
It's certainly something to follow up on, and we said we would be talking about it. Matter of fact, Kevin Sweet, Rachel talked about some different avenues to get to public, get this out to the public so that we can start answering questions, so that by the time public meeting comes along, people are more informed and understand kind of how we got to where we got to. So I think the deck that you created for last meeting and we used for this is a good one. I don't think we need to do a lot of work on that. It's a question of now, who's going to coordinate those, and how do we get in front of people and present? So
yeah, and Kevin did say that he wants to make his staff available to us, especially Amanda. He had mentioned does quite a bit with social media and that stuff. So they offered their services up to whatever we think would be useful as far as the getting the word out to people so that they have an understanding of what's going on and they have a chance to ask questions and have some feedback so that they feel like they've got ownership of this when it comes time to vote on it. I know that was a big thing when we did the town center zoning. We had a little more time on that, so there were more in-person and a town hall type of things. Unfortunately, we don't have the time with this one because of the deadline. But I think we can still do a pretty good job of getting the word out there and letting people ask the questions that they want to ask and getting back to them, making sure that they realize all the information. Kevin also pointed out that the page on the town website with the MBTA community's information. He said there's probably no other information that you could find anywhere else that isn't already on that page. If, so that's a good starting point for people if they want, if they don't know anything about it, just say, check that out and read through some of the stuff that's on there. It gives a good explanation of what it's all about and how we get to where we are.
And to that end, if we have planning board members who are interested in helping to move that forward and or set it up and help Rachel maybe or Amanda get things squared away, and we can certainly use that help. Even presenting if we want to have people there. I don't know. Does that break any open meeting laws if we have more than 3 members at a presentation, Rachel?
Well, it depends on your timing of this, because I assume at some point you will close this public hearing.
Yes.
And so it just depends on your timing for those items.
Okay.
I hope we do. I really do.
Me too. And I think
one of those slides had the timing for that December warrant. If you give me a minute, I could probably back up.
Be good to bring up at every meeting and review as things get tighter.
Yeah. And the other thing is to all the board members, make sure that you're taking a look at everything and submitting any comments that you have regarding the crafting of the bylaw. It's an open comment period right now, and encourage all of you to submit any suggestions, questions, and to also have you let anybody that know that it's an open comment time, and that we welcome the input from residents, because we want to know what people are thinking.
So are there any issues with, so September 30th is coming quickly, closing the warrant.
No,
that's for the October meeting.
Yeah,
that's for the October. Okay. Gotcha. So we have some more time before the warrant closes. I mean, I would hope that in the next few meetings we could, deliberate on and put a bow on hopefully the zoning bylaws. And get to a point where we feel comfortable with making putting it to a vote or a recommendation for our town meeting. But I think we do want to make sure we're doing our due diligence on that and putting good thought into that. And I don't know, Rachel, if MAPC can help us with maybe some other communities that have done this on a larger parcel. If this could be 30 acres, 35 acres. And whether there's some ideas, and I think you've already grabbed those in your draft potentially, but I just throw it out there to see that we've got that in there. Or maybe that was more of a question, Rachel.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I also did provide you all, I think it was about 30 different communities, their pre-application reviews, but that also means that they have a draft bylaw out there. So if there is any community that you like, feel free to let me know, and then I can go in and see what they've pulled, for their bylaw. Also, we did provide links to all of their bylaws or their MBTA pages. So if you want to go ahead and do that on your own, you can also go and read their bylaw and see what you like or don't like on them. Whichever is easier for you. I think a lot of the items that were included in this draft bylaw are sort of for that larger parcel. So it's more of that, creating that neighborhood feel. But there are also things, if you feel passionate about one thing or another, we will add it.
And you've sent that out. Have there been any revisions since the last time you sent it, Rachel?
I am not going to touch it until 10/10.
Okay.
And then I'll compile the comments. I will put them in probably a spreadsheet or Word document. I do like spreadsheets, so that's probably what it's going to be. And then you all can review and decide what you want to add and what you don't want to add. And then I can make those revisions, update that bylaw, make your final vote on either one of these, whatever day you want. Or whatever your next meeting is. 10/2, I think, is your one after this.
I guess that makes sense in one way. The other thing is, if you are getting comments that the board should look at and consider versus waiting until 10/10, for me, it would be helpful to see what people are thinking. Maybe
Well,
that
then
doesn't have to be.
Yeah, but then I don't want to get into an issue of now we're sharing comments outside of the public hearing. So that could then be sharing thoughts that aren't in discussion in the open forum.
All right.
I can share, whatever comes in, if you want, 10/2, whatever comes in by that date, I can share it with you then. Whatever comes in by 10/16, I can share it with you then.
I think having more information earlier would be helpful, at least for me. And maybe since I missed the last meeting and it's probably what you sent is under a stack of other emails. Could you please send me the draft as it sits today so I can put it right in the front of my inbox?
I can do that.
Thank you. Comments and questions to what we just talked about? Unless Rachel or Mr. Woodhams, you have, or Chuck, have any other thoughts or comments from where we are and where we're headed?
No, I don't have anything else. I'm good. Again, thought last night went very well, better than expected, so I was pleased with that.
Okay, thoughts or comments, questions, Mr. Boissy?
Nope, just thank you all for getting us here. Appreciate the efforts of the subcommittee.
Yeah, it was only a little bloody towards the middle and end of the discussions, but we threw some band-aids on. Actually, it was really good dynamic conversation, I thought, back and forth. And we had some participants at most of the meetings that helped us as well. So good comments from a few in the public and EDC. Mr. English?
No, sir, I have nothing.
Mr. Lawrence is not here. Mr. Maloney?
Good job with the subcommittee. Thank you for all your work. I'm looking over the draft number 3 at the moment. A couple of questions I have, I'll forward them to Rachel. Otherwise, we seem to be on schedule. Thank you.
Sounds good. Mr. Orban?
No comments from me. Just again, thank you to the subcommittee. This seems to be going in the right direction.
Mr. Woodhams, anything else? Nope.
Nope, get my space bar working again. No, nothing else, Mr. Chairman.
That's good, because I think I heard Chuck say he wanted to present at all of the public forums going forward. So if I misheard that one, let me know.
My space bar wasn't working. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I will do my share if you'd like. That's fine.
All right.
You do such a good job of it, Mr. Chair. I would really hate to steal your thunder.
Well, it's easy when you have the right context, the right document to read from, which was great. So thank you, Rachel, for putting that together. And then 2 partners who fill in the blanks when you miss something or didn't pick up something. So I too appreciate the support that was given by Rachel, Chuck, and Jim on having it a real team effort to get us to that point. So good all around. So do we have any public comment related to MBTA communities, the field? Raise your hand if you do. I don't see anything. Do you, Rachel?
Negative.
Okay. Do we have a motion to continue the MBTA communities to our next meeting, which would be
October 2nd at 7:15. So moved.
so moved?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second discussion. Roll call vote, Mr. Boissy,
Aye.
Mr. English,
Aye.
Mr. Maloney,
Aye.
Mr. Orban,
Aye.
Mr. Woodhams,
Aye.
Mike McKnight, aye, 6 in favor, 1 absent, no one